back to Greenhill Junction. Now I know I said my next video was going to be sort of completing the scenery on that hillside. However, I kind of realised that the hillside flows into this cutting, which is the incline up from the lower level to the upper level, and I can't really complete the hillside without first of all, well, doing the cutting, and then I can scenic the whole thing. So this is going to be about the design and the cutting basically. Now if I zoom you in, what you can see is there's obviously quite a big gap and it doesn't flow that well right now. So I have been doing my usual bodging stuff, to be quite honest, to try and solve that problem. So if I bring you over here, you'll see my my scratch building, and it's basically loads of bits of Metcalf kit. It's essentially the tunnel kit and the bridge kit, the leftover pieces that I am now bodging together to create wing walls and solve the problem with the space. So first of all, wing walls. All I've done is taken a spare bit of like square brickwork, and I have got the wee end pieces from the tunnel kit, and essentially just cut a triangle to create a wing wall that was slightly lower than the wall end, and there'll be ridge tiles that go down there, and that'll just well, that one's double-sided, so that'll sit round about there with the thing on the end, and then I've got this one that's just one-sided, and that'll sit round about there. Now obviously got the problem of the gaps, so what I've done is this really cheap, simple and quick fix is a bit of cardboard. Smaller tab is for the bottom, bigger tab for the top. Basically all I did was, if anyone's done Metcalf kits before, you'll probably have loads of these grey spacers left over. Just take them, cut them to size, stick them in, and then I just had that between some bits of wood to hold it square, and then that'll just slot in. I think that's the sides in fact. Famous last words, that just slots in. There goes that way. There we go. So that just slots in like that, and hopefully you'll be able, oh no you can't because it's around the corner, but you can. So that just fills that gap nicely. And then the wing wall can just sit, well not sit, get glued onto it. Also that solves the problem of the wing wall falling down. So to make it, here's the other one. It's literally, you know, a bit of cardboard, fold the bottom over to make a tab, stick it in, and a very roughly sort of I marked when I need it. Get a ruler, fold that over, and then just cut the bits to size, glue them in. Really is that simple, dead easy. So I shall get on with that, and then we'll move on to how to actually create an embankment running up here and here, because I don't want it just to end in a right angle. I want to try and blend this in, the back scene, into the actual railway. So back to that. Okay, welcome back. So the wing walls are on. I think it looks quite good. and I've started to fill in the edges. So I'm doing something different with this. There's not a lot of room, so I'm not doing the chicken wire. I'm just basically scrunching up newspaper, stuffing it in, and then what I'll do is I'll do the paper mache over it to give it a finish before it's painted. Along here I've been having a few thoughts and issues. There's not a lot of room between the backboard and the ballast. It's like a finger width. So my initial thought was, do I run a wall along here and then kind of have a small slope, but I put one of the locals in and I put the bit of wood that I was planning on using for the wall, and there was just hardly any room. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of stuffing it there, and obviously we'll have an embankment coming down and it'll be wider there, but as the track gets closer, basically all I'm doing is actually folding over a bit of newspaper to fill in the gap, and then once I find that little bit of newspaper just through down the other gap, I'm going to just lay a bit across there, so you basically get a kind of embankment. But it's the best I can do. Is these things happen, you sort of put track down and then you start planning scenery and you realise you haven't left yourself a lot of room, so that'll just continue all the way up there to probably just the end of the ballast, because I don't know what's going to happen after that. With regards to in here, so again I'll just stuff newspaper in here because I've got the card under there to stop it falling. The bigger gap here, what I'm going to do is I have this thin card, and I'm just going to cut tabs and basically bridge the gap as we go along. I'm also going to cut just a little bit off that bit of wood there to make it a more natural curve, and then again paper mache over the newspaper, and then paper mache over the card tabs, and that'll fill in the gap again all the way up to there, and that'll be the basics of the embankment done. It's going to look a lot more man-made than the hillside, but it would be because you know, if this was real life, you'd be cutting out an embankment and making very straight sides to it and things, so it wouldn't look as random as a rolling hill. So I'll crack on with that and get all this filled in, and we'll come back and show you the sort of finished basics for the cutting. So back in a bit. Right, I'll just show you what I was meaning for the kind of framing before I go into the paper mache. So if I bring you all the way back here, you can see down the side I've got all the tabs, so they're literally just stuck next to one another, getting gradually longer. Excuse me while I try not to trip over the table legs. Right up into the corner. So that just gives a frame to put the paper mache over. And then on this side I've stuffed the paper in, and the idea I was going for is that it gradually gets lower and lower and lower as the track comes up, and then it'll end round about there. Like I say, it'll just be a small embankment to give the idea that it's cutting through the landscape rather than just having the right angle between the backboard and the track. So yeah, now the fun bit of doing the paper mache, exactly the same as I did the hillside, so sort of 50-50 mix of PVA and water, and cut up newspaper strips and just stick them on. So go on with that, but it's starting to take shape now, so you're getting the idea of the profile. So crack on with the paper mache, and then that'll be the sort of base done. Right, welcome back. That's the paper mache done, and the basic landscape shape in place. As you can see, it's really covered up the gaps quite well. It's made quite a nice feature, to be honest. So it all looks like it's one complete thing, running all the way down to the tunnel. And it flows nicely into the hillside that I created in the last video as well. So now it all looks like one thing, and I can get on with the decoration. This side didn't really turn out the way I wanted. It's a bit steeper than I planned, a bit bumpier, but I was really struggling with the lack of space that I had in there. But it'll look better once basically it's covered. If I can, this bit in here I'm quite pleased with. It's a nice sort of gentle continuous embankment, getting narrower and narrower and narrower as the two tracks get back together. I think that'll look really good once it's all synced up. But yeah, I mean, again, really cheap way to do it. Basically leftover cardboard and paper, and a bit of PVA glue, and it creates quite a nice bit of scenery. So hope you find that useful. We'll just leave it there because the scenic stuff's going to take a bit of filming, so we'll just leave it at that. Leave me any comments you have, subscribe to keep up to date with the channel, and thanks very much for watching. Speak to you again soon. Cheers!